Here's the deal, Joe. I went to sleep at 2:30 celebrating Underdog's $1 billion sale. I woke up at 4 a.m.
Happy for you, big dog.
Preach.
Man,
I woke
yesterday.
up at 4 a.m. to get back for these interns. The last thing I needed was to find out the two things I just heard. Number one, these guys are in another fantasy league with creators, and Gut's like, we're not creating content. Oh, it's just a creator content league with no content. Number two, that they're ducking smoke in the BDG Snapback softball game. We're drafting teams. They're scared to play us in softball. That's crazy. Any thoughts?
You guys have your own gloves. I feel like that's the low.
What do you mean we have our own glove? Yeah, we have a fucking baseball glove. Like, everyone has a baseball glove.
No, we don't. No, Joe, do you own a baseball glove right now?
Yes.
Yes, I own a baseball glove.
100%.
I don't own a baseball glove. Sexy
I
don't
guarantee
own
you,
it.
Nick.
Mo
Okay,
owns it.
sexy doesn't count.
Nick
He is not a
doesn't-
human.
Okay, fair. I take that point. Nick doesn't own a baseball glove right now.
I bet you
Mo.
$100.
Because I asked all. And they all said that we need to borrow from John Boy, 'cause that's what we were planning on doing.
So you guys are gonna have Rawlings nice ass baseball gloves. Ducking smoke, absolutely insane. And Yelm is canceled apparently. So
Yelm's
you guys
not
didn't want
canceled.
Icy Bird in the league. You don't get any of us in the
Just
league.
cancel the whole
It's
league.
just the whole thing's fucked. Casey's punishment done. You guys are all gonna go to a bar. No one's gonna be there.
Alright, so this video is going to be the making of the draft guide, what we have in store for it, the process of it, the day-to-day workings of it, things you can look forward to, all that good stuff. But it's really just going to be in the day in the life of Unk, honestly, because it's like the last week of July and August is starting and draft is starting, and that's the only thing I'm really working on right now. So it's the morning, and the very first thing I typically do is I leave my apartment and I leave my door wide open. Anyone you figure out where I live, you could probably get into my apartment, no problem. And I just come up to the rooftop for some air. I get some light. It's important to get light in your eyes early in the morning to wake up your circadian rhythm and to wake up your brain and get some good energy flowing. So I usually come up to my rooftop. I'm very fortunate to have an electric rooftop, which most people cannot say in New York. That's what happens when you're a billionaire, though. I see Elon Musk when he visits New York and he's at his penthouse apartment. We wake up together and we hit a quick wave and we hit a quick dab on each other. Unfortunately, it rained a lot last night, so there's nowhere really to like sit out here and kind of just breathe it in for 10 or 15 minutes. The one bad thing about my rooftop is the rooftop next door. They got a motherfucking pool. So when it's really warm out and I'm sitting out here half naked and sweating with my laptop on my thighs, searing the bottom of an Apple MacBook into my flesh, all I want to do is go over to that pool. But they put that fence up because people used to jump in it over from our apartment and I can no longer access it. So I probably just need to make friends over there. But normally here's what I would do. Come up here, I'd sit right here. The sun would normally be up there and I would just let it pierce my fucking eyeballs. And sometimes I would listen to podcasts up here, like drink my morning coffee, etc. But it's a little gloomy, so I think we're just gonna pack our shit up and head to a coffee shop. The people watching spot right here is unbeatable. Plus this coffee shop does like dog ice cream treats, so there's always like 100 dogs coming in and out. All right, we are back at the crib, the Criboratorium, working more on the draft guide right now. It's about 11 a.m. and a lot of what I'm doing at this very moment is writing up the player outlooks for each individual player within the rankings. Very tiresome. I wouldn't say difficult, but it's very time intensive. Like I do every single player's outlook and write up in there. You go to Jahmyr Gibbs, click on him, the season outlook pops up. So anytime you click on a player, it's got like his entire profile written up there for you. So it's got his Vegas props in there. It's got any tags that I've attached to them. It's got their team data, so their team win, their offensive line rank, their strength of schedule, which you could pop down and look at, which is phenomenal. Additions that were made or lost by the team, etc., but there's a season outlook for every single player. Not yet in there, but I'm working on that. And obviously that's a lot to do if you have 205 ranked players. Shout out Kate Otten, being the strong solo man down there at the fucking bottom of the list. So I'm currently working on that. And basically the way my process works, so I have this ranking system kind of built out where I just click on a player. If they're green, that lets me know I've done the season outlook. If it's white, that means I have not. So I go into like David Montgomery here, and it's just open for the taking. One of the issues that I find so difficult with having a large section of the draft guide or our fantasy membership being writing heavy is like, I don't like to write. I've always liked to make video. I've always liked to make podcasts, such as why BDG has been successful and thrived, because that's my main way of expressing myself. And I think you guys have always related to me doing that. I'm not a good writer and I don't like to write. So what happens is a lot of times I'm working on these, I'm like, man, I got to get through 200 player profiles. And then I start like tinkering with the product and I get onto like Claude Code and I can't stop doing shit. But it's good that, I can do both at the same time pretty much. But like, I'm obsessed with being in Claude Code. I'm obsessed with someone named Claude. And most of it is to make my life easier. Like I go through the process of creating the product, and as I hit tough points where I'm like, I need to fix this, or this has to be better, this has to be faster, then I'm like, all right, cool. I'm making the content for the product, but then I'm also fixing the product on the side. Fable 5 is the greatest thing I've ever fucking laid my hands on. It is so good. So the way I'll actually make those player outlooks is I'll do the research on every single player. So I gather a bunch of notes, I'm doing my research, and by this point in the summer, some of it is muscle memory. Like I've done the research on a lot of players up to this point, and I know how I feel about them, or I know a basic general direction or outlook of what I want to talk about. So I'll basically take a ton of notes and I'll write bullet points. For someone like David Montgomery, we'll just write down the first bullet points that come to my mind, like super worried about the offensive line, worried about the offensive prowess, but he was signed to come over and play the workhorse role. I think his worst feature as a running back right now would probably be his pass catching ability, even though he's pretty good in that area. Either way, Woody Marks is likely to play a pretty severe complementary role there. I think it comes down to whether or not you think the Houston offense spends a lot of time within the 10-yard line, because David Montgomery is not going to be a breakaway player. He's not going to be a guy that catches a ton of passes. So in order to return value on that 4th, 5th round ADP, I think he needs to score a double-digit touchdown. Is it out of the realm of possibilities? Definitely not. I'm not a huge fan of David Montgomery. Those are like my quick thoughts off the top of my head. I didn't write that, didn't script that. That's just what's going on in my brain right this minute. And basically I'll write those down, and then I'll start to dive into those bullet points and start to form a narrative of whether or not those things are true. So the first thing I'll say is like, okay, the offensive line for the Houston Texans terrifies me. That feels correct. I'll go back and look at the offensive line ranks from last year. I'll look at any additions they made to the team, like they used their first round pick on an offensive lineman this year, any other free agency additions they brought in, any coaching staff or OC changes, things like that. And then that will further dictate whether or not that point is valid. But I like to play both sides in these season outlooks. I very rarely take a very strong take on a player one way or the other. It's trying to be unbiased and kind of lay out the season outlook for why he could be good, why he could be bad, and then we give you that tiebreaker matrix to kind of make your own decision on it. And I'll keep going down the list, like things I'm concerned about. CJ Stroud, his play has been more bad than good at this point in the NFL, etc., etc. And I will legitimately write all those notes down, and then I will talk through like voice notes like this into ChatGPT or Claude or whatever, and I'll be like, yo, take my voice, take my tone, take the notes that I acquired, the research I did, and then make it, clean it up. Make sure there's no grammatical errors and put it into like a strongly voiced narrative. So the outlooks you see are all my research, all my tone, my brain power, and the narrative I have for a specific player. They're just cleaned up and organized for chat so there's not a bunch of spelling errors, so there's not a bunch of shit that's like glopped together. Because if I'm gonna write 200 of these things, a lot of them are gonna come out like shit if they're just done by my fingers. Now, where one of the problems arises is that I work so heavily at a coffee shop. However, I use voice to text so often, and I'm not a dickhead, so I'm not gonna use that in public, So if I'm doing a player outlook at a coffee shop, it's gonna take me like 12 to 15 minutes per player. But if I'm doing it like this, where I just ripped off a bunch of shit for David Montgomery, I could probably have a player outlook done within like 3 to 5 minutes. So it takes me a lot longer. So it's a battle of like, do I wanna just sit here in my fucking apartment by myself all day doing player outlooks, but getting them done way quicker? Or would I rather enjoy the process? Would I rather make friends along the way, but it take a lot longer? Unfortunately, right now it's July 28th, so I don't got a lot of time to bullshit around. Which is why you now find me back in my apartment, talking about David Montgomery. All right, headed into the office now. It's like 40 minutes later. Obviously not because I want to get work done, but because Jackson, who edits all of my fantasy football videos, like my personal videos. Basically, he's in town. Haven't met yet. He wanted to get a tour of the place. So I'm gonna pop in. Maybe I'll try to do some work there, but snapback interns are in there, which actually makes that place impossible to work inside of. That's also another really difficult part of this time of the year, is like, it's the most engaging part of the year in terms of content. Like, I just put out a video literally an hour ago and it has like 15, 20,000 views. It's peak fantasy season right now, so staying on top of the draft guide, like getting all the content into it, as well as improving the product, as well as making content at a high volume, is pretty tough to juggle. This is why I have these fucking bags under my eyes, because I don't sleep, because I'm stressed, because I like wake up every 5 seconds, be like, I forgot to do this, forgot to do that, gotta do this, gotta do that. We're working hard here. All right, so we're in here now, and to my surprise, it's quite literally empty. We found a few of them. Say hi, Aaron. Literally say hi. Wave. Wave, you fuck. All right, it is now 2:30. Left the office, hung out with Jackson. Great guy. Knew he was gonna be a sneaky, like fucking 6'1", 6'2", 205 pounds. Kind of a beast. Stop for a slice. First food of the day. Typically how my day ends up going. I don't eat until very late in the day, and somehow pizza always finds its way into being the first thing in my mouth. Pause. So I'm heading back to my apartment, gonna keep working on season outlooks, and then I'm going on someone else's podcast in about like 2 hours to talk more fantasy football. What else? All right, so we're back in my apartment. Fast forward about 26 minutes, and I actually just want to walk through like the things that we've actually been working on with the product and the things that I'm personally most excited about. Where I wanted to start was we actually just like kind of reskin the website from start to finish. That I think added way more personality to, you know, to the website, which is important for us, obviously, because I think we're a brand that you guys connect with on like a community level. So I didn't want to make it some like sloppy website that didn't have personality. So we took a lot of time to reskin the website, and it's a lot more playful, and I love the way that it came out. I want to build something that you guys are excited to come back to all the time. It doesn't necessarily even need to be the most informative product or the best product out there, even though we're obviously trying to make it that. We want it to be something very simple, very intuitive. I hesitate to say addicting, because the intention is not like addicting in the way that it's a negative connotation to most things in the modern social media age. What website do you go to? Like, I can't wait to go back to the rankings and like play with them and see them. So the main piece of the draft guide, the fantasy membership, is going to be the rankings here, which are, you know, pretty standard rankings. By the time you guys see this early August, you'll be able to kind of customize it towards league settings, PPR, half PPR, standard. There will be a super flex and a 2 quarterback button here to customize the rankings and the orders that you guys want to see based on your league type. But we have the standard rankings, and what we wanted to do, the North Star of the product, is to like make sure that you are not stressed when you have to make decisions throughout your fantasy football season. So when it comes down to it, you're making a lot of decisions of who do I take here? Who do I start here? Who do I pick up here? So the North Star is like, when you hit that stress point, what can we put in front of you to make that decision as easy as possible? And I think the startings of that product were the last couple of years, but we've been able to fine tune it aesthetically to the point where I think you guys are going to love this product, where Jahmyr Gibbs, you can kind of jump in here at any point and see all of the data and all of the important things that I think you want to know right off the rip as to why or why not you should draft a guy. And not only can you look at singular players, you can just grab a bunch of guys and compare them with what we're calling the tiebreaker matrix tool. And you'll be able to see, you know, I'm looking at Gibbs versus Bijan versus C-Mac. Who ranks higher in what categories? The BDG rank, their ADP, the team win total, the offensive line rank, the strength of schedule, which again, you can drop down and see, their Vegas props, all that kind of stuff. And it gives you like a, hey, this guy wins the majority of categories. Maybe you should look at him here kind of thing. So you can jump out. You can do that all the time. We've got tags here that are just kind of like basic. Hey, I'm looking for sleepers. I'm in the end of my draft, and a bunch of these guys will kind of pop up and you'll be able to filter towards them. Now, one of the cool things that we're implementing right now, we always get asked this question, like, can I download your rankings? That'll be right here to download into Excel for yourself. But we are putting together a league sync function feature where if you guys are on Sleeper, ESPN, or Yahoo, you will be able to sync your leagues to our website. which will allow you to go into draft mode when you're drafting, and it will have your draft time, and as players are getting picked, they will be crossed off of the rankings for you. The ADPs will update to match that platform. You could always go into the actual player data here, and if you're not on one of those 3 platforms, we have the ADP for all of the different platforms: FFPC, Underdog, NFFC, Fantrax, Drafters, whatever. And why that gets me so hyped is because in season, you'll have access to all the tools that I would be using in content normally. Be able to go to our Sit Start rankings, our Sit Start tool. You'll be able to dive into like your idiot league mates. Oh, this is switch to the 2026 season, so I don't have any players on there, obviously. But if we look at like one of my dynasty leagues, Go Fade Me. Like you're trying to decide between, hey, should I start JCM this week? Should I start fucking Drake London this week? Whatever. All the information will pop up here that I used to use in the live stream stuff. So you will have the rank for the week of the player. You will have his matchup data, so the matchup fantasy points allowed to that position. You'll have the Vegas player props. You will have a weather tab here for the game's weather is going to be like. Obviously, there's no data because we are still tied to last year, and there's no data for like week 1, week 2, etc. But you'll be allowed to compare as many players as you want at any given time and just like get status for this. Okay, Blake Corum was deep into the playoffs, so he actually has some lines here, which is kind of funny. But you guys get the point. You'll be able to sync any of the leagues that you want. You'll be able to help with your sit start stuff that will carry over into the waiver wire rankings and stuff. So the idea was to make these simple tools that are as helpful as possible, like really narrow down what are the 5-6 key points you're looking at when you're making a decision. If I'm in a sit start decision and I'm like, all right, choosing between DeAndre Swift and Chase Brown, whatever, I'm looking at like, okay, they're like relatively similar ranked, but let's look at their opponent. Are they good? Let's look at the weather for that game. Is it going to be run heavy, pass heavy? And let's look at their Vegas props. If Vegas has Chase Brown propped up to have 15 and a half more rushing yards, I probably lean there. So I want to build out the tools that I find most helpful, making sit start decisions, making draft decisions, those kind of things, and just give them to you in very easy, consumable, clickable ways. And that's the premise of it. And we took most of the last couple of months to like build out the skeleton of it. So we still got like a month left before the season kicks off. So there will be probably a million different things added to these features before then. And this whole like pop-out drawer kind of feature or tool within the draft rankings is something that we plan to copycat and use over for sit start rankings, where it's like this team data, Vegas props, injury news or updates, weather for the upcoming game, like all that stuff's also going to be available for these players when the week is actually going on to help you again make the best sit start decisions, help you make trade decisions, all that kind of stuff. So everything just like functions very, very smoothly. If you're on mobile, it works really well. It's just easy, consumable, lightweight, it's just a thing of fucking beauty, and I am so happy how it turned out so far. And of course, we got all the trivia games on here, building out the Idiot League Mate stuff right now. That looks horrendous. We have not updated yet. But yeah, if you've got a fantasy draft coming up, you're interested in the product, just know I'm putting in fucking hundreds of hours of work into this product for it to be the best thing ever. And know that this is not the finished product. Of course, we've got, again, a month and a half until the season actually kicks off, so we're going to keep iterating. We're going to keep making this better and better and better and better and better. And I can't even fathom what this thing is going to look like next off season, but the product right now is amazing. So you can go on bdge.co. All the fantasy stuff is available in the fantasy membership here. You can be a combo member, which gets you access to the trivia and the fantasy for a discounted price. You could also switch that toggle to annual and get it for a heavily discounted price. If you pay for the whole year up front, you save 2 months on the price. Alternatively, we have partner offers up here where if you're a new user on BetMGM, you can simply sign up on BetMGM, use promo code BDGE when you sign up, place any slip of $10 or more when you do so. As soon as you place that slip, they're going to give you a promo code to use on our website when you check out. That'll actually give you 3 months free of the entire thing membership. So from now until basically the first month of the fantasy season, like just $10 if you're a new user on BetMGM will get you access to the entire website, everything that I've been talking about this entire video. Okay, so we are very excited. So Varen launched the draft assistant and I went through it today and it's pretty sick, but it works for mock drafts right now and it's live for Sleeper. Obviously I don't have any like active real leagues drafting in the meantime, but what you can do, or what we're going to do today, is I'm going to set up a mock draft. So yeah, basically what you guys should be able to do is join the Sleeper League or join the mock draft. Basically the link that I put into, pretty sure you could just take this link right here, copy it, And when you join live draft, you just paste URL. You click paste URL into here. I'll stop sharing my screen so you guys can like go full screen on yours, but I just want to show you. So put that in there, hit connect. And there you go, pre-draft slot 5. It knows that I'm in slot 5 already. Connects that out. Then it auto puts you right into the draft assistant tool, which is cool. And when I was testing it out, it's like borderline real time. Like it's maybe a second or two behind. So the only thing that you can't actually do from this page here is make the draft pick. So you can't actually click like Jahmyr Gibbs or Marvin Harrison Jr. mark as drafted. That won't carry over onto the Sleeper platform. But otherwise, yeah, like basically the timer is here too when the timer starts. So like you'll know what's going on your Sleeper account, so you won't like be caught off guard or anything. It'll show you the actual pick log of everyone that's picked so far, what your team looks like so far, all that kind of stuff. So, you know, if you're in the middle of like researching, how the fuck does Marvin Harrison keep going to the top of the key here? You know, you can just kind of like do your research in real time as you're comparing players and then hop back to Sleeper to start the draft. So basically, you know, we want to make a tool that like when you're on the clock legit in your draft, like this is actually helpful to you. So if there are things that you think would be more helpful to you as you're drafting or any piece of information, whatever, just, you know, write it down, screenshot, etc. And Vren made that thread within Slack that we could throw it into. So
will it show a roster once I draft? Like right now I have just like the blue empty space under my team. I feel like I should have draft positions like QB blank, running back blank.
You like preloaded, you'd rather have that?
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm on the clock. Should it show, like in the top right, it has Puka Nacua, but it's not, it just says pick 3 Puka Nacua. It doesn't indicate like that's the best pick necessarily, or it's not like labeled. Should there be anything showing like, hey, this is our suggested pick, or do we just want it how it is, like rankings based?
Yeah, I'm not really sure exactly what that is. Like, what's the point of that either?
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know. Again, this is like we're kind of walking through this the first time, so whatever Vren has, yeah, I don't know what that is. All right, so you saw us work through the draft assistant tool, which is very functional, but clearly a work in progress from an actual like design aesthetic standpoint, which I think should be done by the end of this weekend, very, very early next week. But that's kind of how we work as a unit here. And a lot of the things that we are building right now, in order to test them, like we have one engineer kind of building out like a specific tool. So Vren, one of our engineers, is building out this draft assistant tool entirely pretty much by himself. So when it comes to testing, you know, if you've ever done any sort of engineering or really built anything, you don't really get to hit the edge cases and these like minor little things that you didn't think about until you put it in the hands of people and customers. And then they're behaving in a way in which they would use the tool, and then they give you feedback with it. So that's kind of how we're working. And like Vren builds it, and then he's like gets to a point where it's like, cool, it's functional. And then we get in there and immediately like pick it apart because he can't test it himself, right? Like in order to test the draft assistant tool, for the most part, you know, you need a bunch of people in the mock draft. You need the APIs live. You need multiple people doing multiple things at once. So it's hard to get it to like a point of perfection by yourself. And that's a lot of the tools. So we'll say like, okay, I think it's at a point where it's functional. Everybody, when we're on our call this week, let's all get together, test it out. Everybody write down their own feedback, their own problems, their own, you know, anything that they think would make this more intuitive, would make it better designed, would make it easier to use, would solve a legitimate problem for me while I'm in the middle of a draft, depending on whatever the product is that you're working on. So very first, like V1 of that, very beta, it will be available for Sleeper Leagues, ESPN and Yahoo. So very, very happy with how the first version came out. We'll have V2 and maybe we'll put it in the next vlog or video or whatever, early next week.